Oh. Okay. Hey, you running? All right, as one of our counselors just remarked, it's showtime, folks. Welcome to Committee of the Whole for May 10th, it being 3:01. I'll call the meeting to order with any conflicts or any other concerns. If not, a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Seconded, all in favor? Carried. Just if you'll indulge me, a quick shout out to McDonald's. Today is McHappy Day, and Councillor Shepherd and I had the pleasure, and I dare say the challenge, of trying to keep up with the great staff at McDonald's while they're working to raise money for Ronald McDonald House. A great atmosphere, and a big shout out to the staff and to the many people who came in and bought socks. There, we sold out of, what was it, Councillor Shepherd? Which socks? The Hamburglar socks are sold out, so we had to stick with the Made in Canada, Home is Canada socks. So, anyways, again, great cause, and thanks to all the people that supported Ronald McDonald House today, and I think it carries on all day. So don't miss your chance. There might still be some socks there, Councillor Inkster. You in particular, where your presence was apparently missed. Apparently you've misbehaved in years gone by. There we go. All right, so much for decorum. Council, we have just two items on the agenda today, so we'll jump right into it with our Chief McHappy, Director of Planning. Mr. Allen, you've got some comments on the Housing Accelerator Fund, etc.
Indeed. Thank you, Your Worship. I actually commenced writing this report back in March and stalled for a period of time. And the background there was recognizing that virtually every council meeting has one, if not two, housing developments on it for some kind of decision or introduction. And I was preparing a bit of a summary, in particular the higher profile or more beneficial applications. And you will see that in the attachment respecting rentals and multi-unit buildings and so forth. And as I was writing this, then this Housing Accelerator Fund through CMHC was announced. And it's a fund of up to $4 billion between now and 2027. While that's enticing and certainly interesting and an opportunity that could not let pass by, I attended and watched the webinar. I know that certainly Councillor Bell and Councillor Rowe attended the housing forum and where this came up, and Councillor Bell was kind enough to put me in touch with a individual who's a bit of an expert in this. It's sobering as well. There's a lot of funding out there, extremely complex and detailed application process. I can see perhaps the resort municipality of Whistler with a housing authority, or Burnaby, New Westminster, City of Vancouver, Victoria, etc., salivating over this and the opportunities that are out there. At present, we don't have our senior policy planner position. It's been vacant since January. That individual would take the lead on this. We will be starting recruitment on that effective immediately. But we do have basically the staffing levels to keep the doors open. But something like this is daunting. I would need consultant support, I imagine, to get off the ground. So that's the bad news. The good news is, if you look through all the action item initiatives, certain things that are already in our work plan, OCP review, even development cost charge bylaw, finding ways to support and enhance housing are already on our work plan. And it is possible to have our work plan funded through this accelerator fund and or other ideas that council has. So ultimately, the intent of the fund is to incent and even to speed up housing development. Some of the ideas respecting climate change, adaptation and so forth are areas that we do need to go. I do question if any of them will actually speed up housing. It's interesting. I was watching a webinar video recording here to prep for today, and it actually talked about other eligibility, including related infrastructure for housing development. That wasn't on the table that I created because it wasn't in the action plan, but it referred to wastewater and water. And we know that, for example, there are sewer lines in our downtown area that perhaps are undersized and need to be increased in order to support development in certain locations. So there are seemingly limitless opportunities here. First step is to hear from council and hear you folks discuss this and give staff direction. But there are opportunities, and none of them come easily for a very modest staff that we have in place. Since this application, or pardon me, this agenda was published mid to late last week, UBCM has also announced a $10 million grant for complete communities. It might be a simpler application process to apply for. I think it was 2 years ago already, perhaps last year, losing track a little bit, but we applied for the Development Approvals Review grant from UBCM and were not successful. It leads me to wonder if maybe perhaps we have a higher chance of success this time if we pursue that grant. So there's opportunities out there. The federal government, the provincial government are seeking action from municipalities on supporting housing and the right types of housing. The Housing Accelerator Fund does not offer the same amount of top up for single family dwellings as it does for multi-unit and designated affordable dwellings. The webinar video refers to municipalities getting funding upwards of $10 million if they establish and meet growth targets and so forth. I think that might be a bit more of an urban example, but does seem enticing if we're able to capitalize on that. And I provided a brief summary of the action items that are contained within the grant documentation. And there will be a 45-day window this summer, one opening only to apply. I'm not sure which 45 days those are yet, whether it's July 1st or July 15th. It's not clear, but we will need an action plan endorsed by council through resolution and so forth to make our application. And so a lot of work, which will start as soon as tomorrow, pending direction from committee today. And my report is included here, and happy to answer any questions where I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Councillor Bell is jumping in.
Thank you. Through the chair, through to Director Allen. I flagged this funding when I came back from the ABICC conference, and because there was a lot of discussion about both an interest around the funding from both streams, the 10,000 plus and the 10,000 under. So just, I wanted though to say that staff already had this on radar. I mean, I knew that, and I just want to acknowledge all the excellent work that you've done on it already. My question is, and I think you've already answered it. You've identified on page 3 that there's an upcoming opportunity, but it's rigorous, the requirements. If we were to proceed with applying for this funding, do you have a sense of what would have to fall off the work plan, and given new timelines and new timelines on clear work plans?
Okay. Should we apply for this funding, and should we pursue funding to conduct a review of the official community plan? Then that would fall off until we hear back on the funding. If the funding is successful, then that would allow us to kickstart that, for example. We still continue to receive a number of development applications, from the one that was at APC last week with 4 buildings and 100 or so units, through to people who would like to subdivide their property in half. Those types of inquiries are ongoing all day, every day. We are getting closer to the end of the short-term rental review. We're now into those who would like to make an appeal regarding staff decisions, and hopefully we can get over that hump soon. But the short-term rental piece from January till now has taken up a significant amount of staff time, and we do eagerly anticipating moving beyond that. But it could slow down our response time on inquiries and smaller applications, absolutely.
And then I just want a follow-up question on that was just is there any extra support in the money in the budget? I don't recall whether we've had anything put aside that we might be able to draw
Extra support.
for if we were to proceed with this.
We have a position in the budget.
Yeah, in the budget. And
Right.
that's the one you didn't mention that would probably be taking for this. If that's the case. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
great.
Great.
Thank you, Councillor Inkster.
So it's good to see the feds coming back to the housing table. It's been a number of years and I don't mind bugging Councillor Bell about this and saying, let's see if we can encourage them to come to the table because I think she supports that. Federal money coming into the provincial commitments that have been made. And I don't think 4 billion is enough for Canada. I think they could probably spend that in the greater Toronto area. So let's see if in fact they can spread that get as far as BC with even other municipalities. And I'm saying that because the planner has spoken to an issue that I brought up at the regional district the other day, and that's capacity. Do we have the capacity to chase these particular funding pieces? And if we decide that we can create the capacity, and we've already this year decided on our tax rates and our spending programs, if we decide that we have to expand our capacity because these are important programs to provide housing that's needed in our community, for people not being housed, the unhoused, and others that can't find affordable housing and they're spending way more than they can afford just to have a roof over their head. Do we need to look at some of the money that will be discussed later on in this agenda and is available to us to take advantage of these programs? Later on, we'll be talking about some, things that are important to us. And this housing is really important to me because we see it in our community, the unhoused and those that are struggling. So I don't think we have the capacity. I'm hearing that we don't. I'm hearing that things will fall off the plate, but I would say, and others may have other opinions, I would say it's our top 4 issues right now, including water. So we really need to see what we can do about it. I just don't know where our capacity is at. So I'm not all over the place on this. I just don't know how our staff can help with all the other things they're dealing with, including daily people coming in the door with applications.
Okay, thank you. That triggers a question for me. I don't know if anybody can do the math quickly, but pro rata is $4 billion. If we got our pro rata share with 11,000 people in Sechelt, out of that total amount, somebody with a calculator do that, and you do that calculation. Maybe we'll give the technology time to answer us in a minute, but council, any other comments about this? I'm going to take capacity from another side. You mentioned it in terms of staff. I guess I'm curious about all these projects all across Canada. Who's going to actually do the building? Who have we got that will, who have we got that will be able to actually install sewer pipes or build buildings or whatever? It's a rhetorical question for now, but I think it's a practical one that we get money and we can't find somebody to build it for us. That's no good either. Mr. Douglas doing that calculation? About 35, about 3,000. Or the community. Wow, okay. Where, by the way, I'm reminded that we do need to speak into the microphones, folks, because I guess on YouTube it's not as clear. So if we would all pull the microphones closer, that would be appreciated. Yeah, I think you might be out by a couple of digits.
Yeah.
Yeah, Director Allen, have you got a better calculator?
I have very helpful staff upstairs observing and indicate it's likely around $1 million. I was watching a webinar earlier today and it was giving an example of a city, clearly a larger city, but talking about there's also growth rates that one has to establish. And in this example, they were indicating that this city expects 500 new units in the next 4 years. And if they get funding from the Housing Accelerator Fund, and are able to get to 750 new units, it would then be $15,000 per unit. But it's all quite frankly unclear to me because we're not building these units. How does that, if we approve these units, municipality gets this funding for further units? It's very, there's a lot to take in. And when I read a document and watch a video, they seem disconnected.
Thanks, Director Allen. Just, okay, so lots of things in play. It sort of feels like lots of balls in the air and we're not just sure where we're going with this, but Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank
Maybe
you through
pull
the chair.
microphone closer.
I think it might be worth targeting a particular development that we have rolling right now. I'm thinking of the one on Inlet Avenue by Sunshine Coast Community Services. It was slated for homeless women and children. I think they're changing the mandate more to be more generally homeless, but I know they had a shortfall of, I think, several $1 million. So if we could direct the money to this per se, I mean, it's a planned, designed, underway project that I think it would be very helpful to just say, this is where we should target the application. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's a comment for you to consider. Anything else, council? I think staff is looking for some direction and I see Councillor Rowe getting ready.
Hi. I hate to pass up opportunity. I'm with Councillor Inkster on this being a pressing issue in our community. As today we had somebody, a highly skilled clinician, fully hired, who could not find housing or childcare and had to decline a job. So this is what's in my head at this moment. So I agree with Councillor Inkster that it's right up. I think this likely will end up at, certainly at the top of my priority list anyways. So I would like to hear opportunities, what staff would need in order for us to move forward with an application. And it's not lost on me the amount of work that's gone into this report already. I generally agree with all the number one high priority items, certainly. And we heard a lot of talk about many of these number ones when we were at the housing summit as well. So as for some direction, for me, it would be to hear back from staff as to what, if extra support is required to put this application forward in a timely fashion, what would that involve? Generally in support.
Okay, and the question is to quantify more the staff complement. Is that, did I get that correct?
If staff feel that hiring a consultant to help put this application together would be what's required, then what would we be looking at for what that would look like?
Okay, and I'm mindful of the deadline. It sounds like whatever is going to have to be done between now and the end of July. That's maybe even earlier. Councillor Inkster.
Well, maybe we'll have to ask the staff to decide, help us do something, perhaps help the housing development on Inlet by telling us what they may need some money to hire a consultant to do at this point so that they can do this. I mean, it might be one of those things where we have to ask what they may need help with in the planning area in order to make sure that we secure these programs and this funding. So what will they need? What would they need help in? What area? What would we need? Like a number of years ago, we hired a consultant for the OCP. And that was not cheap, but it was, I'm not going to name, but I think people know who that is. That person was, I'm not going to say the name publicly, but that we had to do that. And that was some money that was needed for that. It was a longer process and more expensive, but that may be where we need to go, is to move things around in order to facilitate this. I'm just, and I'm really supportive of that. And I would want us to keep talking about it. My only question through you to staff was, if we do that, how much time do they then need to manage that project of a consultant?
So that,
Yeah.
sort of the same
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
However, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay, in the interest of, we got a big agenda and I think we could talk around this, and I think I'm hearing we'd like to know a little bit more about a few things. And I think you and I had the benefit, Mr. Allen, of a brief conversation. You're not sure where things are gonna land. I just did a calculation, and over 4 years, it'll be 1.2 million if we got our share. Well, that's nice, but it's not a lot. So I think you'd want to take that into account and maybe bring us hopefully a more refined recommendation based on getting new information. Couple of weeks. You said leading the witness.
I certainly did see this as an iterative process, and should we go this route, we will need an action plan endorsed by council. But the first step today was to find out, to ensure that council didn't say no, not interested. And I think hearing council potentially interested, and to address Councillor Inkster's question, or perhaps Councillor Rowe's question, we could engage consulting services for the time being to assist. Myself and staff have a lot of ideas on an action plan, but we need to establish some more specificity on the program requirements, particularly around patterns to identify current growth rate, as well as patterns to identify potential growth rate if we implement certain requirements. And there are folks from professional planning consultant services that are quite good at that and have economic background that isn't necessarily our forte in community planning. So there are options to assist in helping us along this way.
Great, thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Two hopefully quick questions. In looking at the staff recommendation here in the agenda, are we being asked to prioritize, 7 of the 9 high priority items right now? Or is that something that's gonna sort of flow through the iterations of this process? And then the second question, while I have the microphone, is that with the senior policy planner being vacant at the moment, does that give our planning staff the resources that they need to get the consulting service? If we do need the help of an external consultant?
I'll defer. Mr. Allen understood the second part. I didn't fully follow it, so.
Thank you. Second part of that question is, in an effort to assist in managing the budget increases this year, we left that position vacant for 6 months without funding. So there's no great benefit in that regard. But we did seek funding for official community plan review, development cost charge bylaw, and so forth, and potentially could redirect some of that if necessary with council support.
Okay, council, so. I mean, we have a recommendation in front of us. It says to apply. Yes, I would propose, based on what I'm hearing, that we direct staff to continue to assess the merits of applying.
That sounds great. Yes.
Is that a motion?
Well, I'll make it a motion because we really need to move forward into this area, but and then if it's seconded, I just have something to say
Okay.
about that.
All right.
Thanks.
Second.
Thanks. The planner has come to us and said that he put a lot of work into this report off the side of his desk because it's a program that came to him. And now we're asking him to go back and do more work on it. Just the same question. Do we have, and then to put a plan together to look for a consultant? Does the planner have the time and the capacity to be able to do this for us? It's the same question right now. The planning department's so busy, and I don't think we've resourced them. When we add these new programs, I'm not sure if we've resourced them enough, is what I'm saying to council.
Okay, I think the answer is yes, you'll make the time over the next couple of weeks. Yes, no, and I don't mean to be flippant, but I think if they didn't feel they had the time, staff would have brought a different recommendation to us today. So
To say yes to our requests, right? Because we're asking them. So okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thanks. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes, through the chair. I noticed that the provincial Homes for People program is mentioned in here. They're almost back and forth. We haven't really got the details on that. So these are two major housing programs. And there is a lot of overlap, it looks like. So I would hesitate to have you put too much into this when it seems to me that this particular program, not the Housing for People, the federal CMHC program can be used for a specific project. I think if there is a timeline coming up, it'll be in the summer. We may not get the details on the Homes for People BC program till later. So, you know, that's why I think it's more beneficial to focus on a certain project, see if we can make that fly. Because otherwise, I don't know, you'll be looking for a whole range of possibilities on how to use the federal funding, and that is just, you know, kind of out of our control in a way. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion in front of us. Sorry. Nope. Yes,
I
yes,
was going to
yes.
comment, I think to Councillor Inkster's,
Pull your microphone down.
Councillor Inkster's view that, yeah, staff obviously need resources to pursue it. So I think it sort of supporting your motion that they come back and suggest, give us a more refined idea about the time and the cost to take on a consultant to help do the work, and perhaps a decision can be made then. Thank you.
Okay. I'll call the question. Everybody clear what we're voting on? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks. That's not meant to be a dismissal of all the extra work, but I think all of us can look at the various priorities between now and the next couple of weeks and see if there's any key ones that jump out, either that have been omitted or that are vitally important. So, great, thanks. We then go council to pages 13 onwards, and we have a report on the growing community fund. Council, how would you like to proceed? Won't ask Ms. Paulson to read her report, but Councillor Bell.
To the chair, I would like to motion that we wait until after our strategic planning session to look at strategic goals for guiding this project plan.
Okay. Other discussion? Is that, okay, so that's a second. All right, then we can, yeah. So we can discuss motion and, yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
To the chair, could I ask how, from staff, how much of that fund is already committed to the Wakefield project, other projects? Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Yes, your worship, $900,000 for the Wakefield project. That's it. Yeah.
No, it's for active transportation, I think. Yeah, not the Wakefield lift station.
Sorry.
Yes,
You're right.
Yeah. Yep, good. Councillor Inkster?
Yeah, I want to thank staff for continuing to put this on our plate and agenda, because we do have some spending priorities that we need to look at, but I'm prepared to wait till after the strategic plan to just follow a process for us in order to make sure we have proper ways to spend it that meet our plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes,
Just that Councillor Bell took the words out of my mouth, so I won't have anything else to say till. I think it makes sense to wait
apparently she
after
didn't
strategic.
take the
planning.
words out of your mouth.
So, I know, can't stop me from. Yeah, I think it just makes sense to wait till after strategic planning, which is coming up shortly, so. I'm in
Okay.
support of that.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I would like to wait, but in the meantime, also, I'm not too sure how our strategic planning is going to be laid out, but I hope it also involves neighborhood associations. and communities. I would like to see them to be able to come forward with their big ideas and their requests, because this is a bit of a windfall, and I think they should be able to see the benefits of that in their communities. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that very much. All of the community, maybe that's part of it. We can start in some of our communications, soliciting ideas. You know, it has to fit within the parameters of the funding agreement with the province, but yeah. Okay. All right, any other points? I'm all in favor of deferring this until after strategic planning. Carried. All right, then motion to adjourn this committee of the whole and seconded, all in favor of adjournment. We are adjourned and we look for questions. Any questions from, hello, Ms. Jackson? Mhm.